Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. We are in the second week of April here in North America. Welcome to the post eclipse stream, I guess, if you were in North America and got to experience that a little bit. It was a lot of fun on Monday. I was thinking maybe we might be doing a stream, but I ended up being about 3 hours from home instead of at home to watch the eclipse. So, so I wasn't able to be back here. So, there you go. Sometimes the best laid plans get disrupted by an eclipse. So yeah. Anyways, I'm sure lots of talk on the internet about that. I saw somebody post something online that was from someone outside of the United States that said something like, if an eclipse happens and it doesn't cross the United States, did it really happen? So I thought that was pretty entertaining because we like to make a big deal about just about anything. Kevin, no, we're not doing an eclipse tutorial. That would be fun, but yeah, I don't know. That feels like more of like a compositing effect, and I'm just not very good at compositing. You could. I mean, I guess you could do some sort of a simulation that would, do some particles for the edge of it or something. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't really ever thought of that, but yeah. No eclipse tutorial. I'm sure there's plenty of those on YouTube or whatever. So, no, instead, we are going to try to recreate a little setup from, a small little venture called ManVsMachine. Was suggested via the Discord server. So if you are on there, that is always something that you can do, is go on and suggest some stuff there. I am just pulling up the server so that I can grab a little clip of that so that we can see it here. Hold on a second. Topic suggestions. Where is it? There it is. So this was one suggested by Pascal, and it was from, like I said, it was from ManVsMachine, and sorry, just getting my stuff all back up here. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I heard Off was pretty cool. Seemed like there were lots of great speakers there. I'll be at FMX, so I'll be looking forward to some of that. But yeah, I heard Off was a lot of fun. I think EPC is next week, and so yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff happening right now. A lot of cool talks. But let me show you real quick maybe what it is that we're hoping to do here, and just, oh, cool. That's awesome. Well, geez, I guess that would probably be a little bit better than than a workshop with me. But yeah, that's pretty sick. I forgot everything. That's pretty good. I like that. I forgot everything. All right. So let's pull this up here. Sorry. Cross dissolve. Okay. So ManVsMachine, they did this thing called deconstructing sleep, and Poxy was outside drinking beers. So this is the video here, and it has this really cool little section where this thing falls onto these different pieces of like foam, and it sort of makes this little burst around it. And I figured we could probably do something like that on the stream here. So we're getting a little bit of deformation there. I think we're going to do it a little bit differently here. I think what we might do is instead have, hello, welcome, G. So I think instead maybe what we'll do is have a few layers fall down, have this little, maybe make a little rocky type thing that's going to hit it on the top there, some sort of just generic little bit of something. And then we'll have the particles kind of burst out like that and try to make it all float together. The one thing I was kind of thinking that's sort of interesting here is this initial burst, right? It kind of flows out. Sorry, it keeps like highlighting like that because I've got in this picture-in-picture view. So it kind of bursts out there. And I think what we could do is almost have that little burst sort of travel along the surface of that, kind of animate some particles. So we have a little bit more control, like, sorry, not particles, but like a burst source, like a Pyro burst source, so that we could kind of have that expanding sort of Pyro source coming away from the impact site basically there, and have a little bit of like artistic control over it, and not have to make it just simply just all like simulation or whatever. But I think what we'll do is we'll use a what do you call it? A tetrahedral soft body for the for these like foam blocks, and then we'll do a rigid body, like a rigid simulation for the like rock hitting it on the top. And maybe we'll try to do a little bit of retiming, so because it feels a little bit like this sort of has, I don't know, I feel like we could maybe like have it slow a little bit down, or maybe we'll just slow it down in general. I don't know. We'll see. We'll kind of see how we feel about it. But yeah, so I think this should be pretty fun. I'm a little unsure about these curls here. We'll see how we get that going. The rest of it is really cool too. There's lots of like neat little things. But that's kind of the real main bulk of it, I would say. This is kind of cool too. I liked this shot as well. I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe we could do that one too. But it's a little, I mean, it's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. I just think that we'll get maybe a little bit more of interesting results from the first piece. And if we get going with it, maybe we will try that one. I don't know. Maybe we'll try that little bit where the drops are hitting that kind of weird foamy thing. I don't know. Could give it a shot, I guess. Anyways, that's the plan here. So that's what we're going to try to do. And yeah, I think the particles are really fun. The gold ones are cool. I mean, those are obviously not, there's not like collisions going on in there, right? It's not like those are colliding with, it's not like there's collisions happening inside of that simulation, like inside of that advection simulation. So I think we'll just kind of look at it purely as like particle advection through a Pyro explosion, but we'll kind of try to tie a bunch of things together. Yeah, exactly. Just like some smoke advection. That's going to be the idea. So cool. Well, I guess we're already kind of over here in Houdini world. So let's get started and start playing around a little bit here. One thing I always say kind of before I start any stream is if you have a question or thought or anything like that, if you want to bring up any ideas or ways of doing things better, please feel free to drop those in the chat. Yeah, if there's no dumb questions here regarding Houdini. I could probably ask a bunch of dumb questions regarding other things in the world, but within the world of Houdini, we don't have dumb questions. Obviously, if you have the question, somebody else might, so please feel free to ask them, drop them in the chat, that type of thing. So, yeah, please always feel free to correct me if I'm doing something dumb. If you see me struggling, you can always give me a suggestion, because I don't always really know what I'm about to do, so we'll see how it goes. That's kind of the idea. But overall, yeah, let's jump in. Let's get started here. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is set up some of those cushions to kind of fall down, and then have that rock. So that's the first thing that I'm kind of planning on doing here, is having the cushions and that little rock kind of fall to the ground. So let's first start there. So let's do geo. And what I'm going to do is call this sim Vellum, maybe objects, something like that. I also changed, I changed the text on my little thing up there. So if you find that more or less annoying, you can always let me know. Whatever. It actually is like the It's the old font actually was kind of bothering me, and I was just like, I don't know why I never really thought about changing it. So I just changed it to the default Houdini font. So anyways, all right, so we'll do this, change to purple, and let's dive inside. So let's first start with those blocks. So let's do a box. And if we look at that video here, this, let's see this here, they're kind of some different sizes. So I guess we could do that where we could make a few different pieces and have them kind of like fall down on top of each other. That could be possible, I guess. Just trying to think of what the most interesting thing to do here would be. I mean, it's kind of interesting because these are actually, there actually is no real simulation going on with those pieces. They're really just kind of moving. So I think we can try to actually make a simulation there, and that could be interesting as well. So maybe we'll just try that. We'll just kind of make our own spin on it, make an actual simulation out of like all of those pieces kind of like falling down with the block together, and they can all kind of, as they kind of all crunch, like squish together at first, that'll be where the burst kind of comes out from it. So maybe we'll do this. We'll kind of make a few different sized thickness pieces. So maybe the top one's a little thicker, then we have a little bit of a thinner one, and then maybe a little thicker one at the bottom. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll make a few different boxes here. I'm just going to minimize that just to give ourselves a little more viewport space. Let's just kind of freehand this. And we'll kind of see where we get with this. I don't really have any specific ideas. So, I'm going to just kind of keep it at the center here for right now. Hello? Shift, not control. All right, so let's do that. And then we'll do, should we do these in 3? Yeah, let's just do it like that. Then I'll make another one here, and maybe I'll make this one a little thinner, or actually quite a bit thinner like that. This will be kind of our middle block, and then we'll get one for the bottom and just make that a little thicker, something like that. And then we could probably, let's just do this. We'll just shift click all of these, bring them all together, and I'll sort of just, maybe we'll just move these around a little bit. Just move this up, put this in the middle here, something like that. Kind of just give them a little separation here, something along that line. There. Cool. And maybe what we'll do is just kind of skew them a little bit here. Kind of give them some little rotations. Nothing too crazy, but maybe just a little something so they're kind of interesting looking. And all right, cool. So let's do that. And then the next thing that we kind of need to think about here is if we want these to be tetrahedrals, we really want to remesh them, the surface of them, because we're going to make tetrahedrons inside of it. That's going to kind of make this as like a big, it's going to be a little bit more of a dense, soft kind of squishy material versus the strut or the balloon, like soft bodies that we have. It's going to create it to be a bit more dense, and we'll see why in a second, because if you're not super familiar with tetrahedron, they have structures inside, right? It's kind of taking a different look at making a surface. So we'll do that in a second here. So let's first remesh the outside here. So let's do this. Sorry, my throat just made a really weird sound. Sorry about that. Let's do this maybe to 0.1. I think that'll be good. That'll give us a decent like size of mesh here to kind of work with. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And throats do things sometimes. Thanks for understanding. I appreciate it. I'm going to just maybe rotate this one a little more. So this is just something to kind of keep in mind when you're working in Houdini, right? Like you just saw what happened there. As I rotated this, it's remeshing all of these objects, right? Because it's downstream of it. Just something to kind of keep in mind when you're working in Houdini, that there's always a bunch of different ways to do things. We could be remeshing this up here first, then doing a transform. So there's always multiple ways to kind of go about doing some of these things. So, you know, always think about that when you're kind of in the process of doing something, because you could do something higher up in your network and then start wanting to modify something lower. You know, put something like a mesh down here, and then you go up and tweak something up at the top of the network again, and it just recooks everything. So you have to kind of think about that a little bit ahead of time. Now with this, it's not too big of a network, so it's not really going to be a big deal, but just something to keep in mind. Okay, so these are going to be our objects. Now that we've got these remesh, let's do a match size. We'll do this. This will get us it's going to center it by default, but we'll do it to minimum and give it just a little bit of an offset here, maybe. And maybe what we'll do is just rotate these ever so slightly. So let's do another transform here. And I'm just going to, I'll do transform centroid, transform from centroid. So this will automatically put a little expression in here to pivot by the centroid of these objects. And so I'm just going to kind of rotate these just a little bit, just to give them a little angle, just for some visual interest maybe. So there we go. Now we've got a couple boxes here, and let's do our, we can just do tetra. We can type that in, and we'll get Vellum configure tetrahedral soft body. We can plug this in right here. And what this is going to do is put down the tet conform first, which is going to turn this into an actual tetrahedron, or make it up of tetrahedron now. And so from the outside, it doesn't look that different, except for the fact that the normals get all wonky like this. And if we look at it, we can now see that we have 30,000 tetrahedron, when before we had 12,000 polygons. Now we have tetrahedrons. And let's just put down a clip here, clip sop, just so we can kind of see maybe a little bit better what's going on here. So let's do this, and I'm going to wire this into this. And so what we can now see is that there are these tetrahedron inside. And this is what's happening, right? We have it built up of these three-dimensional tetrahedron inside, right? Sort of triangle, like three-dimensional triangles, pyramids kind of shapes you can imagine inside of there. You know, maybe like a diamond or something like that. So we've all kind of made these into this kind of stack of tetrahedron and this kind of mesh of them, kind of like all put together. And so some of them have more. Obviously, this is going to have more versus this one down here, which is only going to kind of have 2 layers of it. And we can define how much of that is happening with the tet scale here. So in this case, we could maybe set it to 0.05, and that's going to give us maybe a little bit more resolution here. Maybe 0.25 there is going to be better. Give it a second to partition those. Yeah, so now we've got quite a bit more. Might be a little too much. Maybe we'll do 3.5 and see where that gets us. Maybe 3. I just kind of want a little more resolution in this. Yeah, that's probably good. Tet embed is tet embed. What's the difference between tet conform and tet embed? That is a great question. You know, I don't actually know what the difference is. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not super okay. So a tet embed is going to cover the mesh with a tetrahedron. So let's look at that real quick. See what that looks like. Interesting. So what it looks like the difference between the two is that the tet embed is going to cover it, where a tet conform is going to, I believe, turn it just into, like, conform it to a tetrahedron. Yeah. So the difference between the two, from what I'm understanding here, just from the documentation, is that this tet embed is actually trying to kind of put the polygonal mesh inside of the tetrahedron kind of a thing. I think there you can see that it's actually growing in its creation, right? So we have it actually expanding a little bit there. So it's actually embedding this solid mesh inside of the tetrahedron, it seems like. And so, hey, Carlos, welcome. So that's what we're kind of seeing here versus with the tet conform, we are keeping the original mesh and conforming the entirety to have tetrahedrons built inside of it. So that's the difference. The tet embed is with you use that with tissue to kind of embed the tissue, I believe, inside, or the interior tissue inside the outside tissue, if I'm remembering correctly, like within muscle workflows and things like that. So just that seems to be the difference there. I don't know all of the actual mathematical or geometrical differences between them, but it is growing it a bit and embedding that original mesh inside of it. So that's the difference from what I'm seeing. So let's play this back and let's do a Vellum solver. Sometimes my brain just forgets words like solver, which is fun. Anyways, here's the ground position. Let's turn that on. Yeah. Look at that. All cut. So let's try this again. There we go. Okay. And can you go away, sir? Will we go away when we hit play? No. I hate when it does that. Ugh, it drives me nuts. There we go. Allow and match. There we go. So we've got these three objects here, and let's just play and see kind of what happens here. So they're going to fall down. They're going to kind of go, right, smush out. They're obviously too smushy. Like, we don't want it to do that. That doesn't really look like a mattress. That looks kind of ridiculous. So let's play with this a little bit here. Let's play with some of these settings. Let's first of all change the stiffness of it. Maybe really going crazy with it. I'm going to try 100,000, just give it a shot. See what that does for us. Might be too much. Yeah, it's too much. Let's not do that. So let's actually just cut that in half. See how that works. Because I feel like maybe that'll be enough. No. All right, so let's go to 10,000 and let's just see where that gets us. And maybe what we should do actually is maybe we should yeah, that's a great note as well. Not sure what your name is there. I'm trying to think of that. Erber, maybe? Erber? Anyways, yeah, the tet conform has the tet conform tries to stick specifically to the input mesh that you give it. So it has that regular look on the outside, whereas the tet embed is giving you an adaptive outside shell, right? It's kind of embedding the original thing inside of this adaptive outside. So yeah, that is a difference as well. It's a good point. So maybe what we should do here is kind of thinking actually it might be fun to have a few different options here. Maybe what we'll do is let's do this. Let's do a connectivity. So we have an attribute to work with here. So let's just do a connectivity up here. And I think this should work just fine. We'll stick with a class. Maybe we'll make that a primitive attribute, just because I feel like this will like that a little bit better. It's going to do its tet conform again. And I think we should still have that class. Yep, great. Okay, so the class attribute is still there. I'm just going to pop this open here. Take a look here. Yep, we got class. Perfect. Let's do this. Let's actually do a couple of these tetrahedrons, or tetrahedral constraints. So let's do the top and the bottom maybe the same, and maybe we'll do the middle one a little bit softer. Maybe that's what we'll do. So we'll pull this down like this. This top one here we can do on the group type. Let's do at class equals, actually, I'm not sure which one's which. Let's look at this here first. Let's visualize that. Come down here, attribute class, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so 2, 0, and 2. Let's do that. What? Okay, interesting. Add class equals 2. So that should be those two. Yep, perfect. It looks like that's working just fine. You can see that those constraints are being made on just those two. So those will be stiffer. And then this one we can do, I'm just going to copy this over and do class equals 1. And that should give us the middle one now here. And oh, maybe also we'll just turn the thickness down a little bit, maybe to like 0.15, just so that they kind of collide a little bit more closely. Oh, interesting. It did it on both of them. And maybe we'll make this one just a little less dense, maybe like 75, and a little less stiff. Maybe we'll make this half as stiff. Let's see how that works. That might make the middle one just a little more spongier. Yeah, for sure, Zach. That's a great question. Zach's just asking what the difference is between equals, between a single equal sign and a double equal sign. So a single equal sign is used in places where, like this, where you would be trying to reference a specific class value, right? So in this case, we're looking to see the attribute is equal to 0, the class, is equal to 2. That attribute is equal to 2, and it's basically running that over the primitives that are coming in, right? So those are the groups. We're making this kind of ad hoc group. If you're setting up something like an if statement, that's where you would use the double equals, and I use that more in expressions or in Vex, right? So in Vex, if you're doing an if statement and you want to say something is equal to, that is a double equals. So those would be the different cases where I would use those. In this case, we're just looking for an attribute value, and we're not looking to do like some sort of like an if type statement. We're just looking to kind of create a quick ad hoc group from anything that has class equals, the class value is 0 or 2, right? So that's the value of class. When we're looking at like if statements, that's where you would use the double equals. You can find some more of that in like the Vex, like some more maybe in-depth documentation on that, where the best uses for that are and stuff like that in the Vex documentation. But that's kind of the general rule of thumb that I use. So if I'm trying to find an attribute like this in a group, parameter, that's where I would put just a single equals like that. So yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's great. Good question, Razvan. So if you want to see that connectivity, so I'm just going to come back up here so we don't have to look at it with all the other stuff on it. There's this little icon right here, so we can display a group and attribute list. And the way I did this is you can go up here to match your selection type, or if it's a specific, type of geometry, like element, like a primitive, point, edge, or whatever, you could select that, and then come down here to attributes and select class, right? So this is now showing us, this is really helpful in cases where there's very, how do I want to say that? Like there's like a discrete number of options, right? Like you couldn't really do this for like a float attribute and expect something usable to come back, because every decimal, every different decimal point, representation would come back as a different kind of like group or visual representation here. So in this case, with integer attributes, it works really well, especially if you only have a few values like this. You can also color them too, which is kind of fun. So you can click on this here, and then I could make this one yellow, and I could make this one like a pink. And so now we have these really, it almost looks like some sort of like fun candy or something. But now we have like 3 very distinct colors that we could use to kind of check our geometry here or whatever. So yeah, so there you go. So now you have a bit more visual separation from the background. And you can do that for any like really small number of options within your attributes. Now you could also do a visualizer too. That's a way to do it as well. This was just I was just bringing this up so I could not only see the values, right, but I could also visualize, like, from a selection standpoint, like which ones are which. If I brought up just the reason I did it that way versus a visualizer, like here, which I can do by clicking here. Why is it saying int is not a... That's so dumb. Stop it. There we go. So I could visualize this as class, right? And that's great. Like, this is a visualizer as well, and I can see that these are all distinct classes, but I kind of knew that already. I want to know which one was which. And so in that case, I would need something to come up like a marker. And so I could click on that little pencil, and instead I could go in here and say marker and call it text. But now it's like, oh God, there's 2s and 1s all over these, and it's just really obnoxious to look at. So taking those 2 steps didn't really feel like it was as valuable as just grabbing this 1 step and kind of turning on class and seeing that I could select which one was which, right? So I can see that the selected one is 0, 1, 2, right? Like so. So that was the reason why I did it that way. So just a little thinking behind that. So anyways, here's our beginning of our simulation here with our pieces kind of falling down, right? That middle one is going to be a little squishier than the top. Now, one thing I just kind of was playing around with this for a second beforehand, and I was kind of thinking, how can I make this feel even a little bit better? We're sort of running into a little bit of a problem here. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to change my mind here. I think I want that bottom one to be a little squishier too. So that one is 0. So we're just going to leave class 2 as it's that one, and we're going to do this class. Wait, sorry, which one did I grab? 0. Yeah. So we'll say at class equals 0, like that. Let's see what that looks like, because I kind of feel like we want those 2 bottom ones to be a little squishier, and then the top one can be a little stiffer, right? And a little more dense. So cool. Yeah, that'll give us a little more action. So great. That's sort of doing what we wanted to, but let's like let this play back. And in fact, we don't really need it to go all this way because we're going to probably slow it down. So that's probably fine. Let's just shorten this to 96 for right now. Should be enough to kind of play it back and see. So what you can see that's very not mattress, like memory foam mattress like, is this continuous bouncing, right? It's kind of doing this, right? So that's something we need to cancel out because that's not going to work for us. It feels like we got kind of a couple blocks of jello here. Whereas if you had a big memory foam mattress and dropped it on the ground, it would just kind of go thump and not really move very much. So I want it to move a little bit, but we want it to not move too much. So let's play around with something here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these and let's up the damping ratio on this. Let's up it to 0.1. And what this is going to do is bleed a lot of that energy out of this system. So let's kind of see where this gets us. And now you'll see that we're going to kind of get this more thunk and just settle type behavior here. So we're bleeding out a lot of that velocity in those constraints so that we're not dealing with this really high amount of bouncing and stuff like that. Now, maybe 0.1 is too much. Let's take a look at it and see what we've got here. Honestly, no, I kind of feel like that feels right. Let's also give it a little bit more constraint iterations here, maybe just to kind of give it a little bit more accuracy. Oh, not 2000. That's way too many. Let's do 200. Let's just give it a little boost. See if that gives us any better overall look and feel. In fact, now we could probably reduce this to 48 because that's really all we're going to need here, because I think we'll slow it down. But yeah, now we've got this nice kind of settling behavior here with these different pieces. And I think that's looking pretty good. Got a few chunks that are just kind of thunk, sitting down like that. Looking good. So that looks good. And let's just kind of reframe this a little bit. So let's also grab some sort of a maybe some sort of a rock type thing and just stick it up at the top there. I don't know. Let's see here. So I think what I'm going to do is make another thing here that's going to have the rock with all of its like constraints and then merge them together down here just because we've got this all the way we want it to. So let's do that. I was just thinking we might have a capsule here. Let's do a tube. Polygon tube. And let's grab this. I'm just going to look at that little thing again just to kind of get an idea of what it looked like. That's like a little sort of weird cylindrical rocky thing. Actually, it's not really cylindrical, is it? It's kind of very faceted. So let's do this. Let's take this down to maybe 6. Let's do 7-sided just to make it a little irregular. And maybe what we'll do is we'll do a poly cap here. And we'll do a triangle fan. Maybe do a surface offset like so. And then I think we could do... Yep, that should work. That'll give us our little patch group. And maybe what we should do is remesh that. Let's try that. Let's see if we can do that. No, that's not going to work very well. Could just remesh the whole thing, I guess. Let me see if that will that keep our group here. I'm going to now use this to look at groups instead. And yeah, that's looking good. Okay, so that should work just fine. We'll do that. I'll just make this maybe a little smaller, like something like that. And then I'll do the 0.1 again. And then I think I'm just going to do a little, let's do a mountain sop here. And let's do this on patch. And I don't want it to go... I don't want it to go along the vector per se. Oh, cool. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for watching. Glad to have you live on the stream. Welcome. All right. Just trying to think of a good way to do this. Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. That is very kind. Thank you. It's very much appreciated. Yeah, sometimes it does get a little tiring to do this often, I'll be honest. But it is very great to always hear from folks and realize that they're feeling helped out. And that's just really very nice to kind of realize that that's what's going on. So it's great. Glad to hear. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to do an attribute promote here because this attribute adjust vector, I know that I can turn on and off axes, right? And I just want this to go in probably the y-axis like that. Oh, that's actually doing something kind of cool already. But I want to use that group. So I'm going to do, sorry, not attribute promote. I want to do group promote, if I can type, group promote. And we're going to do group name, patch, and we'll call, we can just keep the original name. Good, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, so now I think we should see that coming in here. I guess I'll just type patch here. And will we see that here? New. All right, let's try that. I guess I just needed to type it in. There we go. So let's just do that. Something like so. Maybe here. And we'll do this as 0. Yeah, that's kind of cool looking. Maybe something like that'll work. Interesting enough, I guess. Just give it a little something here. Nah, I like it like that. That looks cool. That's our weird little thing. That'll be our little block that'll fall on top of it. That looks kind of cool. All right, so let's do a Vellum configure grain pieces. So this Vellum configure grain pieces is going to turn this into Vellum grains and then do a shape match from that. So this is going to kind of turn it into a sort of rigid body that will interact properly with our other tetrahedron soft bodies. So this Vellum grains here, let's kind of play around with this a little bit. I'm going to turn this on just so we have a visual of it. And right. So let's do this. We'll make the particle sizes a little bit bigger. Something like that maybe would be good. Maybe we'll do 0.4 and I'll give it the ability for a few more particles in there. Maybe something like... all right, let's do this. Let's do 0.3 and add some more. I want it to be close, like kind of closely bound to, but not so crazy close that it's like a ton of points. So you kind of have to, this is a little bit of a cheat, right? Because we're basically turning this into a kind of quasi-rigid body now. So this is sort of a little bit of a weird workaround for getting rigid bodies to work with Vellum. And let's do this. Let's visualize these. And, ooh, that's a little big. So let's maybe transform this. Kind of play around with this a little bit here. Okay, we'll have to play with that. That's okay. Let's bring this up here. We'll just let that kind of fall straight down, I think, on top of the other stuff. So maybe like that. Cool. All right. So just a little note about this. I've talked about this in the past, but what's going on here is that we're basically trying to fit, we're trying to like kind of pack these spheres inside of here. We're allowing there to be overlapping and we're setting up the number of points that we're kind of creating from the start here. So I think what we're doing is we're creating 10,000 points originally, and then we're cutting down the maximum number of spheres to kind of fit within this, the size of this object. So, sorry, we've lost something here. Let's see. Oh, right. Dumb. There we go. I just clicked on the wrong one. We needed to see it transformed. All right, so now those are sort of fitting to it, but let's actually bring this down a little bit more in scale. Since we scaled it down, maybe we'll do this at 0.15. I think actually you'd need to up the number of particle count there maybe. Could also tweak this ISO value a little, I guess, to kind of make it a little bit bigger. That actually is working nicely here because we're getting some pretty decent fitting. Let's actually see if we could do this down to 100 and change the ISO value. No, that's not going to work. All right, so let's change this to maybe 200. Give it a little ISO value out. No, see, we're getting a lot of like kind of voids there, so that's okay. Let's do... Oh, wait, what? 200? Let's do 250 and see where that gets us. Yeah, probably something like that'll work nicely. Just kind of play around with this. Yeah, It's actually looking pretty good. Maybe something like that will work just fine. Give us some collisions. It won't be perfect, but it'll at least get the job done. So let's do this. Let's do a vellum pack. We're going to do 2 of these. Let's cut this. And we really only need these first 2 into that. Grab this over here. Cut that. Grab those both. Actually, does that work? Huh, I'm actually curious. I know they added this, but I'm just kind of, let's see, what do we have there? 4-pack geos. Then what if we unpack that? I'm just kind of curious. Not sure what this is going to do, but just giving it a shot here. Oh, right. Nope, that won't work because we need it to be in separate geometries. Yes, that will not work. That's okay. All right. Because we need it in separate streams. Right. Just thinking that that could be a fun thing to do, but it is not the way to do it. So, okay. So we're packing these 2 vellums. Then we're going to do a vellum unpack. What this is going to do is it's basically doing 2 packs in one, where you're basically taking these 2 channels, packing them into 2 geometries, or these 2 streams, packing them into 2 geometries, merging them, then unpacking them back into 2 geometries. So now we can see that our now these spheres aren't going to be showing up as spheres anymore because of the draw mode that's getting set by this geometry now. I think it didn't keep that for some reason. There's like an OpenGL sphere points. If we come down here, that should be a detail attribute. Interesting. So if we did that's interesting. That might be a bug. Attribute promote. If we did primitive sphere points to a detail, will that work? Doesn't look like it. It's okay. Doesn't really matter. Basically, that's just a way for it to know, for OpenGL to know to write it as a sphere point. But maybe it can't show that with the tetrahedrons at the same time. Maybe a limitation of the GL engine, possibly. Maybe that'll get fixed with the Vulkan viewport. Never know. All right, so I'm just going to hit play, see what happens here. Haven't really played around with this object very much yet. But we can see that it is working. It's going to fall off, but we're really only going to use this first little chunk of it. So, boom, like that. Okay, so you can see that that is working for sure. Let me turn this off, and then I'm going to hide that. We can see that that top shape is now doing its thing. I might up the mass on that though. Grains, yeah, physical attributes here. Let's calculate a uniform on that and set the density to, yeah, 1,000. Sure, let's try that because that's going to squish it a bit more. Let's see how that works. Or squish it too much. Yeah, it's probably too much. Let's do 200 because I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that top one has a density of 100. This one is 75. So let's try that. See how that works for us. Cool. That seems to be working. Yeah, it might be. I'm sorry, I didn't see that suggestion there. The particle display set to points. That could possibly be it as well. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it's doing that. But anyways, it's working. We've got our constraint happening here, or our shape match going there. Hey, Matt, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. So there we go. We've got that working. Let's now take that and just make sure that we like how that's moving with the simulation, right? So what we're going to do is a Vellum transform pieces, I believe is what we want. And let's just make sure we've got that here. Let's see. Where is our piece attribute? I want to make sure that that is looking right. So let's just type in piece here just so I don't have to scroll all the way over. And it's saying these are all the same piece. So we want to change that. So maybe what we'll do here is all right, so let's do this. Let's set up our connectivity as our piece attribute, first of all. So let's do this, piece. So now instead, we're going to come down here. It's going to redo its calculation. And let's just change this to say piece equals 2. And these both here will change to piece as well. And the reason I want to do this is because it needs to be able to have some sort of understanding of this geometry here being a set piece that we want to move. So, and it's looking for what the piece attribute is, and it's looking for piece anyways. So let's just make sure that we've got that set properly. So, let's set the piece attribute up here. So, let's do just an attribute create. And what we're going to do is just set this to be piece. It's going to be a point. It's going to be an integer. And let's just set the value to be equal to 4. So now we have a piece value of 4, and this should transfer it through. We should have a piece of 4, and we don't. Transfer piece attribute. Oh, maybe that needs to be on a primitive? Nope. Okay. We'll do it down here. Don't know why that's not working, but that's okay. We can just reset that for ourselves. We can set this to be a point attribute. Now that's piece 4. Great. Everybody should be happy. We get down here and unpack them. We should have all of our pieces set properly. Those are all different point attributes. So let's do this and look at piece. Yes, I see that. Yep. Display as spheres. Yeah, so it is, if I uncheck that display as spheres, it'll do it like that. And I don't know what that'll do at the bottom here. Hey, yeah, look at that. Yep, so that actually does work. That does work. They're sprites now, I think, and they're really funky looking, but it does look like it sticks through, so that's kind of cool. So that's a little more helpful, yeah. Nice, good call. Thank you. Wasn't even thinking that that would actually help. I was thinking that might be a bit less helpful, but it's great. All right, so now we should have our piece attributes here, and I want to visualize those. So let's turn this on. There we go. And we should have... Is that just really weirdly randomizing? Okay. For some reason, it's not visualizing that differently. Oh, there we go. Weird, it just wasn't updating. Well, anyways, that looks like that'll work. So now we can see that we have different pieces here for each of those, which is great. And we should be able to now do this, hopefully, like so, and then take... Interesting. So this, I do actually think I want this up here. But why is it not bringing this over? There we go. There's my problem. I need to change that to from attribute like a dummy. Okay, so now this will make this a lot easier for us. We have this piece attribute, and we can now take this same thing, bring it down here. We should be able to get that to transform, and sure enough, looks like it's transforming just fine. And then what we could do is merge that in with this. So we could just take, we could actually split that. So we could do a split here. I think like this, and say at piece equals 4. Those are points. Yep. I think that'll still work. Sure enough, looks like it does. Nope, guess you don't want to do that. Anyways, sorry. Let's do that, and we'll just blast this one. Just do a blast here. We'll just say at piece equals 4. That'll get that out of there, and then we can merge these together, like so. Points. There we go. And now we've got our nicely set up system here. We've got a rigid object on the top interacting with soft stuff, kind of all collapsing together. Looks good. I think that's a win. Looks like that's working. So so we've got all of those different parts and pieces kind of all connected together. So that's looking good. Kind of part 1 there is done, I would say. And let's see here. Maybe what we'll do is just slow that way down or something, maybe. Let's see. Okay. So let's see here. Let's do a speed of 0.5 maybe. Instead, maybe what we'll do is shift range instead. Or fit range. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. So the input is going to be 1 to 48. We'll do this one to maybe 96. Change this here to 96. See how that looks. Cool. Maybe even more. All right, so No, let's do this a little differently. Let's see if we can't ramp this. Let's do it by speed, actually. Let's do this. We'll do to 96 instead. And let's start this at a speed of 1. And then right about here, maybe we'll reduce this. I think this will work. Then let's do this down to maybe 0.1. Try that. Too early. Let's bring this back a little here. Kind of interesting. Let's play around with this a little more, maybe. So I'm just playing with the speed as we're looking at it here. Just to kind of give it a little, maybe a little something here. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Let's play that in real time. Maybe instead of 0.1, we'll do like a quarter speed there. Or something like that. I don't know. We'll just kind of play around with this a little bit here, see where we get. Okay. It's kind of cool. I think we're getting something here. Something sort of interesting like that happening, I think is cool. Really wish we had this retime node back when I was doing more motion graphics stuff, because everything needed to be retimed with motion graphics. So this is always really nice to have. Probably could have even like imported like keyframes or something like that from like After Effects or something, if it was like retiming, or from Premiere if there was like something built in like that, like if you were doing an animatic and you were retiming stuff. Cool. All right. That's looking good. We will keep that going. That looks pretty nice. That's just one keyframe. Yep. All right. So we've got that. And that's just retimed from the original sim. So all good. Let's just say null here. We're going to say out sim, or out Vellum. Something like that. Cool. All right, so we've got the Vellum section of this done. So that's looking pretty, or at least in a spot where I think we can continue. What I want to do is I'd like to animate, I think, a Pyro burst from the surface of that that top block. I think that would be kind of nice to do. So I think what I want to do is first animate it and then deform it as it's moving, right? So I think we'll probably want the burst to start maybe right about there. Frame 15 is that's my guess. And then we'll have it kind of spread out from there, kind of burst across the surface. So let's do that. Let's do, oh no, I'm going to type a geo node down, and let's call this sim Pyro, because this is really just going to be a velocity simulation for us. So let's do this. It's purple simulation. So let's object merge two things. We're going to need the this top geometry. So let's just say get top soft body, maybe. So we're going to do that. And then maybe what we could do here is we could just say, I think that's piece. Oh, right. I actually went to piece 4 when it should be piece 3 for this top one, but that's okay. I think the top one is piece 0. So let's do this. At piece equals, I'm sorry, 2, maybe? No. Oh, interesting. I thought that would work. Guess that doesn't work in there. So let's just do a blast here. We'll say at piece equals 2. Oh, right. We actually need to do one more thing. I'm just thinking of this. These are tetrahedron, so we actually want these to be back into polygonal geometry for the output. So while I'm not sure why that is the case, we do want to have that. Let's see here. Piece. Oh, right. Those are on points. That's why. There we go. So that's what we want. However, these are tetrahedron, right? I think. Yeah, they're tetrahedrons, even though we're not seeing them as such. Maybe if we do that, if we do them in wireframe mode. Yeah, there you go. If they're in wireframe mode, you'll see the interior ones. It's a little hard to see here. I'll do D, see if I can do the background as like, oops, dark gray, maybe. Yeah, I think you can sort of see that there's some more inside of there. Sort of weird ones inside. Anyways, cool. So let's do this. Let's come back up here. And so now we're going to actually do a deformation on this side as well, because we need to point deform this now as well. So here we're going to blast out piece number 4. Let's do a point deform. Piece attribute. Let's see here. So this is the mesh that we want to deform, which is going to be this rest mesh here. Right. Then our animated mesh that we want is going to be, sorry, the static mesh, the rest point lattice is going to be this, right? This is our rest tetrahedral meshes, right, that aren't moving. So this is not animated, right? We're not animating those at all. We do have something highlighted here, which, oh, sorry, we have it ghosted. So I'm just going to hide the other objects. Hit escape for a second there. And this will just stay. This is just static, right? So we've got our static mesh coming in there. And then here we have our animated tetrahedral meshes. So we're going to do this. I believe now we should be good. Polygons, yep. And that should deform just fine now. Yep. And that is what we want. Just play that back, make sure it's kind of doing what we want it to. And there we go. Now we've got polygons, and that's good. Now we're back to where we're hoping to be. These should basically match up exactly. Yep, no difference, just the normals being a little bit different there. And so all good. We've got our stuff all point deformed now, and this is actually what we should merge in here. So we're taking our point deform from these up here, making sure that we now have all polygonal geometry here as well. And the only thing I'm not sure of is why are we not getting the piece attributes there? Oh, because it's a primitive attribute. So we're going to do an attribute promote. Or sorry, it's a primitive attribute. Interesting. I'm actually surprised that that worked fine, but it did. So let's do piece. There we go. All good. Out vellum. There we are. Wonderful. Okay, so now we've got polygonal geometry here. I do wonder if that would work now up here. So let's do this. No, I think the reason it doesn't work is because it doesn't have a way to say that that's not just a group, but it's like an attribute. So that's why. So we don't actually have this ability to say group type here. So we're not able to do those ad hoc kind of groups. But okay, there's our... Oh, interesting. To do some of this... I have not looked into any USD physics stuff yet. USD really isn't a way there, as far as I know, there isn't a solid way to do, at least we haven't implemented USD physics yet. That might be a thing for other software, but as far as I know, I mean, we have our own simulation like frameworks and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how much USD physics is even implemented in Houdini. I mean, I guess it is because it's there, but I don't know a ton about it. So yeah, so I don't know about working in USD physics and Solaris and stuff like that. I've not played around with that ever at all. So I don't have an answer for you right now on that one, unfortunately. It's an interesting question. But yeah, no, I haven't messed around with that at all. All right. So what I'm going to do is do a time shift here, just simple time shift, because I'm going to keep this, and then we can just kind of animate in sort of a static mode here, I think, which will be nice. So let's just, delete channel. So now we just have a static frame 1. So that's nice. Let's get, we'll do a Pyro. Is that, maybe it's just Pyro burst source. I'm thinking there's different types, but I think you set them in here. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Just cooking it real quick here. Let's do a blast ring. Whoa, hey there. Sheesh. Okay. Right. It's doing one for each point, and we don't want that. So, let's actually see if there is a point that we could use as like a center point here. In fact, looks like there is right there. So why not? We'll just use that as our center point. What point number is that? 1606. Cool. So we'll do that. Maybe, let's see if we do that. Does look like that worked. Cool. So if we ghost this, it should be centered around that maybe. I see. I thought that might do something interesting for us, but it didn't. That's okay. All right, so I guess we don't really need to connect this together there. That's fine. Let's just take this Pyro burst source, we'll transform it, and just kind of stick it to that surface generally. We don't have to worry too much about that. Interesting. Is it? Why is it like up off the ground there? That's really strange. Oh, it does RBD, simple stuff. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know. That's good, Joel. Yeah, I haven't, like I said, I haven't messed with that at all. So I don't really know the answer to that. So, interesting though. Okay, why is that giving me multiple ones there? Just one, please. Thank you. Ah, that's why. I should just do shockwave, not blast rings. Now, in fact, I think if I do this and do 1606 like that, now it'll be centered right on that point. Wonderful. The only thing is that it doesn't have... let's do centroid, transform from centroid. Here we go. And we should be able to just go like this a little bit. Oh, you know what? In fact, I could probably grab the rotation amount from here. Let's just do this procedurally, right? So we're doing this transform. That's the rotation. So let's just grab that. Copy parameter. Paste relative reference. And voila. And maybe we'll just move it up just a little. Cool. Let's see here. Why is that? That's right. That's looking like that. So now we have our Pyro burst. Let's change some of these. I'm just going to control click that so we can see it a little bit better here. Oh, you know what? The centroid thing isn't probably the best way of doing that with the... So let's just do this. We'll delete that channel, just leave that locked in so that it doesn't move on us. But that's okay. Cool. All right, so we've got a little... Yeah, you could do that as well. It's a great point. You could blast the point, use its normal as an alignment. Yeah, sure. That definitely should work. What is this the... Yeah. That's a good point. We could do that as well. Let's do that. Good call. Let's do this. We'll do blast. And we'll do points 1606. Believe that's the one. We'll say delete non-selected. Here we won't do group. We'll just use that. We'll use an attribute. And okay, so it is taking n there. Does not have... No. It's a great suggestion, and I don't have normals, so that's why it's not working. So let's do points. There we go. Blast it. And there we go. Looking good. That's great. So now we've got our ring here that will push out. Let's change the setup here a little. let's start it with where is it here? Initial size. There we go. So let's start it like so. Oh, let's also do this. I'll just say get Vellum sim. So this is going to be keep top piece. And then this is going to be keep rigid object. Rigid piece, I guess we'll say. And this will be piece 4, even though there's no piece 3. Cool. All right, so let's do this as well. And we can sort of play around with this a little bit. All right, cool. Now we're doing something here. So let's change this to be maybe a 10th to start. Burst animation, we'll say the start frame is on 15. All right, so we'll do the start frame on 15. And that's going to go across like that. And let's do the frame duration to be pretty long, actually, I think. I think we want it to be pretty long. Maybe we'll do it to like 48. So what is that? 24 frame? Let's just try 24 frames for right now. See how that goes. But let's give it, actually no, let's do 36. Yeah, that's good. And let's really animate this a bit more here. Too far. Let's do it to like something like that, maybe. Thinking something like that could be cool. Let's try that out. Oops. Yeah, 0.05. Maybe we'll do it like that. That might be just a little too far. All right, 11.5. And you can see here how much this control gives us, right? Which is kind of really nice. We can just kind of animate this to our heart's content. Now we will have V, I believe, here as well. So we should have a nice sort of strong initial velocity here. So get a nice strong push there from the very start. And what we can do as well is we could adjust these animation curves here as well for this. So maybe we'll enable some noise here. And I'm going to turn this off from piece. Let's see what that gives us for density here. Density. Cool. And then let's just kind of, no, I guess let's add it in there. That's good. Give it a little noise. Okay, cool. So there's our Pyro burst source. We've got density, temperature, burn. We do not need burn. We can get rid of that. Temperature, I guess we could do that with some noise as well. Cool. All right, so we've got this animation here. And what I'm going to do is actually, I think I'm going to just do a point deform again on this. And let's do that. So we'll start with this Pyro burst source. We're going to take the rest point lattice from the top piece here. Oops. And then, actually, sorry, we'll take that from this for the rest point lattice. And then that will be the deform point lattice. Let's see. This should work, but you never know. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. It's going to deform along the geometry, which is kind of interesting. And we can obviously animate that now however we want to. So that I'm going to turn this velocity visualizer off. And we can kind of play around with that however we might like to. So let's see here. Let's see what happens. Okay, sorry, just thinking. All right, so let's do a volume rasterize attributes. And we want to rasterize what? Sorry here. Oh, right. Because the attributes aren't there yet. I'm like, why is that not working? It's because there's nothing there on those frames. That's why. So the attributes that we want are density and temperature. You want to do something like 0.25, something like that. Doesn't have to be, I don't think, too detailed. Oh yeah, we want velocity as well. I was really confused why we weren't seeing those attributes, but there they are. Okay, cool. So let's do that. Cool. All right, so there's our attributes. And let's do a Pyro solver. Oh, sorry. I just remembered that somebody asked about, I think Kenji asked about Axiom. And I think Axiom's a great piece of software. It's really great. Matt Pachala, I believe is how you say his name. He's done a really nice job of developing that. It's a really cool piece of software. I am not super familiar with it. So from that standpoint, probably not something that I would get into too far. But let's see here. Double Jump Academy. So it's actually something I just was thinking about today, and this would maybe be something for you to check out. As I believe, just a quick little plug for them, because that's a great place to go and learn something like Axiom. They have, lots of really cool tutorials and stuff like that, and workshops and all of that kind of thing. I believe they do a bunch of Axiom stuff. I believe they're kind of partnered with or came out of the Theory Accelerated, which does Axiom. So yeah, that's a great place to go and kind of learn that stuff, and really great, tutorials and things like that and workshops there to learn some of those things. I'm not super familiar with Axiom, and I like to kind of stick to as much kind of standard Houdini. I do a little bit obviously with like mops and things like that, but you can get some of those tools for free. So that's kind of, something that I am cool with in that sense. But I haven't really dove into Axiom and don't really see myself doing that anytime soon. So if you'd like some more deep stuff like that, I would check out something like Double Jump. So anyways, yeah, just a little shout out for them. What does normalized by clamp coverage actually do? Honestly, I don't know. I know that it's good in certain cases. Yeah, so I think what it's looking for is it's basically kind of smoothing the kind of the sampling here. So you can see here we've got sort of a really rough sampling. When you do this, it smooths it out. That's honestly what I know of it. I wish I had a better answer for you, Ankit, but I don't know everything. Sorry. But I know that sometimes it helps, and it seemed like that was a good solution for this. So I just kind of went with it. Just now, I didn't really think too much about it. All right. So this, oops, hello. That's piece number. That's not what I want. Okay. Why did that not copy? All right. Let's copy that parameter, paste the relative reference. And I think I can multiply this by 2 because we don't really need it to be a super high resolution. So let's try that, see how that goes. All right, so what I think I'm going to do here is I think a couple things we want to do here. So let's see if we can't sorry, just thinking of this here. Let's add some velocity noise. That sounds good. Let's reset this because I didn't seem to realize that we were doing that. So let's do this. And let's try to see if we can't visualize this top piece here. What's going on with that? We're going to use that as a collider shortly. In fact, we should do that right now because it's not colliding with it. Just realizing that. All right, so let's grab this. And I believe for collision, we could just do the collision geometry like that. You can also do an SDF and volume velocity. We'll just wire it in like this, see how that works. Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Hey, Lucas, how's it going? Mirko, I like your power metal background. That doesn't. I don't know if that really works for me though. Does it? I don't know. It seems a little weird. Let's see here. All right. What I'm going to do here is I am actually going to use the SDF and velocity. So let's do this VDB from polygons because I should be able to should be able to reduce should be able to erode that a little bit because it's kind of interfering with our emission. So let's do this. Do we have velocity on this? We do. Let's do this as well. We'll do an attribute point V, and this wants a collision. It wants collision and V. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say collision instead of surface. And then we want this to be V. No, I'm not doing any purple mattress stuff. There was, yeah, that was what you were, that's what you were asking me about the other day. But yeah, that would be fun. I haven't really thought too heavily on that one yet. So we've got this working here. So that's cool. At least I think it is, right? Looks like it is. Let me see. I just visualize this. Yep, it's not going through it. Perfect. Okay, that's good. So we're getting somewhere here. And we probably want this to be a little higher resolution. So let's do it like that maybe. Yeah, that is a great point. What I could do, just trying to think of what the best way of doing that would be. Yeah, so I could do, this. I could actually throw point VOP in here because that's a great point that Erber recommended. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. Erhaber. I don't know. Suggested was that we have this normal direction here, and this Pyro burst source is kind of sitting right on our surface. Let's see here. So when we do this, it's kind of sitting right on top of it, like perfectly flush. So what we could do is just pop in here real quick and do a, no, what is it? Normal, what is it? Displace along normal. I kept thinking deform by normal, but that's not right. And there we go. We could do that. And we could just promote that parameter, come up here and just play with this a little bit. And this should raise it up. I mean, we could just do it ever so slightly. Maybe 0.01 would be enough, something like that. Oh, maybe. No, let's do 0.02. That might be good. Then we really don't have to worry about much else here. We've got our point velocity, collision. Cool. So that's what that kind of wanted. And let's take a look at this now. Oops, looking at the wrong thing here. So let me click on that. We can look at this. There we go. And what I think I want to do here as well is source. We don't need burn. We can take that out. Let's scale this up a little bit. Does the ray actually let you do that? Sorry, I didn't realize that. Probably might. I guess you would do this, right? And then yeah, no problem. I don't think the ray has that. Or is it lift? Oh, there you go. Lift. that works as well. For sure. I wasn't even thinking of that. That's it. Lift. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, that would work too. I always say, there's a million ways to do everything. So, yeah. Okay. So what I was just doing there is multiplying the source by 2, the velocity by 2. Let's just get something there going. So this is going to fall down, and then like so. I think what we want to do also is have the advection reflection. Maybe we'll try that single project. I don't remember the difference there. And I don't think we really want too much buoyancy. Maybe we'll just bring that way down. Just thinking here. Okay. Whoa, what did I visualize there? Am I visualizing the collision? That's weird. Huh. Oh, I know what happened. Little glitch. There we go. Little viewport glitch there, folks. Maybe what I'll do, instead of having this burst source move like that, maybe what I'll do instead is have the animation of the interior be less. Like that, so it stays a bit more in the middle too. Let's see how that works. Yeah, not really getting good vorticity on it yet. I actually think it's still too much buoyancy. I'm just going to turn it off. Don't really think we want any buoyancy. If you're not familiar, buoyancy is the kind of upwards lift of these, of like a smoke simulation as it's, or as of a pyro simulation as it's kind of lifting upwards. Let's change this a little here. Just curious if we changed this, how this might right. What's that going to do? Okay. So maybe instead of being 36 frames, maybe we do like 12. See how that works. And we don't need to do this. Just make that a little sharper at the beginning, maybe. See how that works. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do is not have it expand quite so much. Maybe we'll do 5. Nope. Nope, that didn't work. I was thinking that that might be better to keep it a little more in the center. That's okay. Let's do 9. We don't maybe need it to expand quite so much. Hey, nice to have you on the stream. Timoteo? Not gonna lie, watching your streams make you feel like I can know this thing. Hey, I promise you can, because I'm nothing special. I just, you just take the time, put it in, mess around with stuff. You'll get there. All right. So one thing I am also going to do is turn down the dissipation because we're dissipating way too much kind of each time step. That basically means like it evaporating almost. You could think of it that way. Dissipation, sort of like evaporation in a way where it's just like kind of going away. So let's do this. That'll keep more of our smoke in the simulation, kind of keep it going a little bit more. Vorticity stuff is not quite the same. I'm going to try to push that sourcing a little bit more to get us a little bit more velocity from that. Let's see if we can't get that. Now, forces output. Okay, so I think there is this, maybe? I don't think that's going to work. I know that there's a way to do that. I feel like I'm not sure if that's done anything different for us at all. The other thing I'd like to look at here is fields velocity. Let's take a look at that. And let's just look at this as a plane. Kind of interesting. I like these, like the rotations that are happening there. Maybe this is working. Let's do a little A/B here real quick. No, it's not going to play from inside of there. All right, so let's see here. How can we do this? All right, let's do that, and maybe we can see a little of what's going on here. So let's do a flipbook of this, and then we'll do a flipbook of it off as well. And we'll see how this looks. There's that one. And then let's turn it off and see how that looks as well. Start a new one. Go. Let that play down for a second. I do think it's actually that actually is doing something. Classic microsolver. All right, I want to look at like here maybe. Let's grab the sequence list. All right, I'm going to say that it's doing something. So let's play around with it a little bit, see if we can't get it to do something we like. All right, confinement scale. Well, let's 1. How about 1? That sounds like a good number. I don't know. Power of 10. A little iffy on that one, but we'll see. Interesting. Let me just see. Let me actually pull up the help card for this. Just make sure I'm... Yeah, the smoke is colliding with the box for sure. Let's just do that. Because it's saying that it's going to be looking for this confinement field, and we don't actually have a confinement field. So let's just see what happens here. I'm turning off the fields. Here. Ooh. That's doing something funky. All right. Well, what is this? Vortex boost. No. Let me see here. No. Okay. Sorry, just playing around with stuff here, seeing if we can't get something interesting there. What is an hourglass filtering? I'm just going to check a couple of these off that we don't need. Cool. All right. Well, let's just see sort of what happens with this. Actually, I'm just going to turn that up a little, see if we can't get a little better effect with a couple more sub-steps. Oh, and no, actually I like them kind of these billowy, kind of puffy things like that. The other thing I'm going to do is reset this viewport one more time because we shouldn't be seeing that blue box inside of there because that is the collision geometry. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a pop network. So there's our Pyro solver. So I'm just going to put a null down here. Let's say out val. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just blast that. I should really cache these out, but I'm just kind of being lazy. So I think I can mix those together in the output, convert it to VDB. That's probably the best. Like so. And we're just going to do val. Delete the non-selected. There we go. All right, so we'll put that into that. Let's grab our Pyro burst source here. And we'll emit points from that. And so let's go inside of our popnet. We'll change our source of our first input source to do all points. Or no, points is what I want because I want to have that. Yep, I think that's right. I'm many points did we end up with here? Not that many. All right, so let's do all points, right? No. And let's do... Okay, let's actually go even more. Something like that. Just kind of getting a good chunk of points here. Right now, it looks like it is just using inherited velocity, so I'm going to just add a little bit, I think, to this inherited velocity here. And actually, I think maybe we'll only inherit a little bit of the velocity. Maybe even less than this. Yeah, even less than that. So let's just take a real little bit of that velocity that's coming. And now let's do pop advect by volumes. Field name is val. We'll say second context. Date force. We'll leave the air resistance at 1, see how that goes. Let's see. See how we go here. Oh, I should bring in that geometry as a collider. This we're going to... Actually, I'm just going to do an object merge just for the sake of not crazy long wires. So get collider. There we go. Let's come inside of here and we will do a static object. We're going to use, let's see. Let's do this. We're going to do op input path. And we're going to use that to get the go up a level basically and grab input 2, I believe. That seems right. Use deforming geometry. Oh, right. I need to do a merge here. I was like, why am I not seeing that? No. Wrong. There we go. Merge in DOPS is a collision type situation here. So left inputs affect right inputs for a collide relationship, which is right. There it is. Comes in like so. Cool. And let's just make sure that we are doing this right. Show collision radius. Looks like it's working there. What I'm actually going to do is I think I'm going to turn off. I'm just going to say use inherited velocity at 0. I don't really think I want to have any inherited velocity. See how that goes. Let's see here. Update velocity maybe is what we want. Why is that initial thing shooting off like that? That is strange. Right there. What is that coming from? Something weird going on there. Why is that happening? That is really odd. What is going on there? Let me take this out for a second. Yeah, I'm not sure why that first little burst is off like that. That is really strange. Maybe because of the substepping from the Pyro source caused by the time shift. It's an interesting question. So I don't think it has to do with the time shift, and I'll show you why. So here is the sim coming in, right? So the time shift was done before this. So now at this point, it doesn't care so much about the time shift that we did earlier, like kind of that retiming. This is all just geometry to it now. Like it doesn't really make much of a difference to it. This is all just sort of is what it is. This time shift is simply stopping the animation of this, so it's just keeping it in place. We're then doing our Pyro burst source here, like this, and then we're deforming it at this point. Now again, we just have those points deforming. So the time shift is done earlier than that. And so that I could see why that would be something that could possibly go wrong, but I don't think it's affecting this here because at this point it has been time shifted and we're kind of past that point. Oh, unless you mean this substeps here? Could be, but this... Oh, I see what you're saying. Volume rasterize has stepping in it for the first few frames. Or maybe here is where you're talking about. Like that. Let me try one thing here too, actually. Let's not convert it to a VDB. And let's just do vel.star here. See if it likes that any better. I don't think it will, but just perhaps. Nope. Yeah, no, it's definitely it's very odd. I'm not sure what that is. let's see here. So strange. Like, oh, no, I want that to be 0. Just see if that helps us at all here. Nope. Let's just do this. Let's do an attribute delete here. Just get rid of everything. P scale. Let's only keep the stuff we want, which I don't think is very much. P will. Oh, that's N. Click the wrong one. P. Yeah, I don't think there's much else we need. Let's just keep that. All right, let's try that. See if that helps. Yeah, exactly. What is that? Right. Yeah, it's always a stupid, it's some really dumb little thing that you hit where you're like, "Oh, this will be good." And it's not. Like, what in the actual heck is going on there? Okay, hold on. Is it this? Okay, so it's definitely my pop advect. Did that just do it? That may have just done it. Let's see. All right, let's see here. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere here. So let's do points again. Now we can change this number to actually represent something. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do a little bit of variance here. Okay, so the question is, do you think because this method is averaging the velocity instead of adding it to the previous frame, what do I think? Yeah, I think it has to do with the way that it's actually calculating the advection, right? So I'm actually curious what that'll do. I changed the trace mode, and that really affected it. Because in the single step mode here, so it's only going one step in the velocity field. And so I think that's what's causing it to go absolutely bonkers at first. So it's only stepping through one, like it's only doing one calculation of the velocity field. And so instead, when you do something like trace, that's going to be a more accurate condition to be processing, basically. And I'm curious if any of these other ones are even more accurate. And let's just do trace. That seemed fine. I wonder if I do this CFL condition down even lower. I think that's the accuracy that it's trying to trace each step. Because if this is up at 1, I don't know if we're going to get as accurate of a... No, actually, it seems fine. Let's see here. Another thing I'm going to try is just update position and see if that helps. See if that does anything for us positively or not. Doing some weird stuff there. Let's just do the update velocity. I think that's our best bet. Let's play around with some of these settings here. This is going to blend in less of the velocity step each frame. Let's see what that looks like here. Messing with substance and well, hey, I mean, you never know. You never know what it is, you know? All right, so let's do that. And then let's see here. Okay, so then what we want to do on the output of this is we're going to do pop star here. I actually think this blend being higher was better. Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Can we do an ID attribute here? I think we can. Attributes. It does have an ID attribute, so that's great. So let's do a null down here. This is going to be our output of this. We'll say out particles. I mean, it's not quite the same, but it's something. It's doing something. And then what I would use from there is I would probably set up something here where we would do maybe like a... Let's see if we can do this. Attribute it as color. Let's just see if this will work. Oops. Let's grab that. We're going to change the color. Right now they're white. Let's do random from a color ramp. Custom attribute ID. So we're going to grab it randomly from an ID. Hey, Andrew, welcome. Welcome to the stream. So let's do this. We'll do this with black to like a grayish color. That's not black, that's purple. So let's do like a black to a gray color there. And then we'll do sort of that goldish yellow color. And I think what we'll do is actually really kind of randomize it like that. That seems pretty good. Let's see how that looks. And then let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting pretty close there, folks. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's doing something. Kind of doing some interesting stuff. Oh, you know what? I kind of wonder if I shouldn't put in... Oops. I wonder if I shouldn't put in the... let's see here. I shouldn't merge this together. I wonder if that would do us any good. Might act funny, but let's give it a shot. Why not? That's what we're here for. Play around a little bit. All right, let's do that and then look at these at the end and see where we get with that. So we obviously don't want it to collide into that. Yeah, that looks like that's kind of doing its thing. Oh, you know what? I didn't put that into this either. That's what I should have done. Yeah. Let's actually do this instead. So, sorry about that. Let's do this. We don't need that right now. And we can put, let's get rid of that. Sorry, I'm just trying to redo this a little bit. Let's reset that. Like so. Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm glad it's you're feeling like you're getting something out of it. That's kind of always the idea here. So yeah, I forgot to put this into my collider. And so that's obviously going to affect the way that this looks. So let's see. Let's see what this volume sim looks like with that collider in there now. I mean, it's probably not going to change it that much, but certainly you certainly would want that in there. All right, so let's try that. And then now let's see it with this. Thanks. Thanks for joining. Yeah, get some sleep. Get some rest. I mean, you could definitely play around with the vorticity of this and some things like that. Get some better confinement, I think, is what you need from these kind of rotating shapes and stuff like that. Whoa, 8:30 a.m. Nice. Early morning. Huh, that's interesting. We're getting something really weird happening there, actually. Kind of curious about that. What's going on there? There's like a really weird, like something going on here. It's really strange. Oh, I know what it is. So that is actually interesting. So what I need to do here is redo something. So this is very curious. So what we're actually running into here, now that I'm thinking about this, is we've got velocities on these, but they're actually velocities from this simulation. And so we don't want that. So let's do a point velocity here. And on this, we're going to compute it from deformation. And we should have different velocities here. So there's those velocities. Here's velocity. There's no velocity there. Interesting. So what are we getting there? Yeah, see, those velocities are a little funky. Whereas here, I think we're going to get much nicer velocities. For sure. Yep. So that's what we want. We had some weird velocities on this, and that was why that we were getting that like shooting up the side of it, because we'd slowed down the geometry, but it wasn't slowing down the velocities, right? So I'm just going to recompute those using the point velocity compute from deformation. We'll just wire these both into here, and that should help it a little as well. So let's actually see if that gives us any better. And that might actually help our simulation overall be a little bit nicer. Okay, so let's try that. And then let's see this out particles, see what that looks like. We can just click on that. Turn this off. Oh, that's actually so much better. I think it looks way better now. Oh, that's like exactly, I think, what we wanted almost. Oh, that looks cool. Node shortcuts. What do you mean by that, Varun? I'm curious what you mean by that. Node shortcuts. Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, there's some of them that I do that way. But that's interesting. PVE, yeah. If you know if you know little shortcuts like that, definitely do them. I just kind of remember the names of them and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's the name of the node, and I'll just type it more or less in. Some of them I type shorter, but that is a great suggestion to learn some little shortcuts and things like that. That actually really helped. I'm very glad I did that because I think that makes a much nicer overall output here. And I am going to birth some more. I think this is just not enough points or something here. You know, I almost wonder, let's undo that real quick. I almost wonder if doing a point replicate might not be the worst thing in the world here. Let's see. That's too big. Let's see here. Just a little bit for each of them. I'll do sphere. No. What a circle. That's cool. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I hadn't really ever thought of that. I'm just going to use this replicate thing a little bit. Just make some more points for this. Let's do like 25 for each, maybe? Oh. All right, calm down. All right, let's go back in here and let's change it to like that and see where we get with this. Because it should be a bit more, but I mean, we're just doing a particle simulation, so it's not like it's the end of the world here. So let's see. Oh. Didn't have it turned on. And okay, that's good. We want a little variance there to kind of kick them off in different directions. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a nice kind of setup for the day. Pretty happy with that. All right, I'm going to turn that off there. We can just kind of look at that real quick. It's pretty cool. And let's see what this all looks like together. What's that? Advect by volume gradient? I don't know what that even means, but that's I'm assuming you mean calculate the gradient and advect by that, but I'm not even sure what that would do. But right, so make the gradient of it and then advect by that. So you're saying take this. Let's see here. Oh, I'm going to do the VDB because I can quickly do that. So let's do VDB from, or sorry, analysis. No, that would not do it from that. Where would you do it from? From the density, I guess. So we would use density, and then custom name, gradient, and then we could do this. I'll do it just because you asked, but I'm not sure what this is going to do. Gradient. Okay, and then we just have the gradient field. And then we'll wire it into here. Bye, Matt. Talk to you later. Thanks for joining. And let's do this. We'll do grad. And I'll just maybe try it as a force. I don't know. I mean, I could bake them. I literally am using like so little amount of RAM. But yeah, it's I could bake them. That's probably very smart. I should be doing that, but I'm just being incredibly lazy right now. Just so lazy. All right, let's do it. Let's and Keith, we're gonna make you happy here. We're gonna do some Vellum IO. Gonna we're gonna say, I don't know, soft body cache, and we'll save that to disk and background. Let it do its thing. Yeah, baking is caching. Yeah, saving a file to disk, basically. That saves your data somewhere where it can be quickly retrieved, basically. So this is going to write those values to disk, and then we'll have them all thus. And that'll be good. Okay, we'll do that, and then let's do this, and let's do, we can just do a file cache here. This is good working practice. I'm just being a lazy bum. We'll say Pyro vel cache, and this is going to be a VDB coming out of here, right? Yep, those are converted to VDBs. We're saving that as a VDB. Great. Give it a second. I think that's probably already done saving. Yep, it is. Great. Here we go. Pyro vel cache. We'll save that to disk and background. The reason I'm doing save to disk and background is just so I can keep working as I go. And then Andrea is saying, use a small value. Sounds good. I will use a small value. And that's caching there. Let's move this over. So that's going. Now if we look at this, we should see that. And that's all coming right from disk. And obviously it's interactive as we go through like this, and it'll, now we're good. all cached. I'm not going to cache the pop because that's obviously very quick to calculate. So now we've got all cache data. Let's turn down the velocity scale, I guess. Let's see. Maybe air resistance will turn down instead. Oh, right. Sorry. It should be the fourth context geometry, not the second. That's why it's doing nothing. Let's see here. Let's just turn that back just so I can see what it was doing before. And we'll turn the air resistance down. Let's just turn it down to a 10th. I'm going to turn off the guides here so I'm not seeing those anymore because they're kind of driving me nuts. Well, I'm not seeing anything really happening here. I can turn... Whoa, baby. Okay. So that maybe is more what we want. Turn that way down. Just the scale? Okay. I'm very curious as to what this is gonna do. And that should be high. I don't know. I don't know. You'll have to maybe take this file and you can add it in and show me what it is you're thinking of. I'm not sure, honestly, Andrew. I'm guessing you might be using that from a surface volume, maybe, and that might be the other way. That might be how that's working if you've done that in other cases, because we are getting that right there, right? So that is working. We are getting a bounding area. And it should be the same as this velocity as well, although that's not showing itself. But let's see here. Oh, right. I changed it. Maybe that was my problem. Let's try it again. Okay, that's working. What does VDB analysis do? That's a great question. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that's what you were thinking that it would do. Something like that. It's kind of weird. Different. I don't know. Interesting. Maybe if we turn it down with the blend a little. Hey, Zach, how's it going, man? Welcome back. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I'll give it just a little, just some more scale there. I don't know. Cool. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun one. It turned out pretty cool. I'm not sure what's totally happening here. Andre, I'd love to see what the difference is with that. I mean, I guess I can sort of see it a little bit. I don't know. Maybe play around with it. I'm just going to say play around with this. This will be on the Discord server. You can grab a link to it, or you can grab a link to the download from the Discord server. There's a pinned channel there or whatever that you can find. And okay, so what does VDB analysis do? So VDB analysis is really interesting because what it's doing is it's calculating the gradient. You can do a bunch of different things. Right now I'm using it to calculate a gradient field. You can also calculate curvature, Laplacian. I'm not sure what exactly Laplacian is, but Laplacian. Sorry, not Laplacian. I think it's Laplacian. Closest point, divergence, curl. Oh, maybe that's what we'd want to do. Calculate a curl field. Anyways, so what we're doing right now is we're taking a scalar value, in this case our density, and as that density value is changing through that's great, Aspie. Hopefully it'll be helpful for you. Yeah, it turned out pretty cool. I'm happy with it. So as your velocity or your density is changing and going from, say, all 1 to 0, it's going to see that changing like attribute value across the voxels, and it's going to make vectors that point in the direction of that value change. So the gradient is almost like a way to calculate the slope of your values as they move across either a surface. In some cases, we actually used that a little bit last week, I think, as well, but you could use it on a surface and calculate a gradient. In this case, we're kind of calculating on a 3D volume. So we're using volumetric data to calculate as those fields are kind of what direction those fields are moving. Their values are either going, I think it's going up, but it's either up or down. And I can't remember. I'm not a mathematician, but I know that because of a grade entanglement video a long time ago. And so go check that out. I can't remember. Gosh, Entanglement is amazing. Just watch all their videos. But yeah. Cool. But this, let's take a look at that. Like this. Cool. Vellum objects. Oh, Vellum. There we go. And we'll get one last little look at this guy doing its thing. And what I'll do is I'll get a, let's see here, get a little flip book going. Close that. And of course I'm writing over my previous one, but that's okay. No, nobody's going to mind. No, what it's calculating is the direction. It was something we were just playing around with. It's not really doing a whole lot here. It's kind of an extra velocity field that we're kind of pushing stuff around using. I think Andrew suggested using that, and so I was playing around with it. But I don't really have my mind wrapped around how it would work in this project. Basically, what it would do is kind of push things away from either away or towards higher density areas. And so that could be helpful to make sure it's kind of adhering to a certain surface or to a certain area of the simulation. However, I don't know, maybe because it's almost 9 o'clock, I can't think about how that's working exactly, but I think it turned out pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's a decent little version of it. I mean, obviously we could play around and probably get some better vorticity on those little particles and stuff like that. But and that would be all done through the velocity field, right? In the velocity simulation. So you'd have to tweak the Pyro simulation in order to get some better field kind of advection or some confinement to those kind of vortices that are happening there. I think also maybe it would work better if you upped the cool. Yeah, definitely. I think if you upped the resolution of that simulation, it might give you a better result as well. Maybe not a huge amount, but I mean, really the idea there is that maybe if you had better substeps as well in that simulation, it could help kind of get you better curvature in those as those kind of swirls kind of happen. The more substeps you have, the more chance you can have for like basically curving to happen in your velocity fields, more or less, like frame by frame. You know, if you think about it, in one frame, you're going to have a velocity maybe that you're going to be able to move from here to here, right? But if you take that same distance and you have kind of a curving force that's trying to happen, if you have your if you have a bunch of substeps there, you could actually, during those substeps, move in a more curved manner. So you could inherently maybe build some more vorticity in that. So, I mean, I'm not pushing this to the extremes of simulation just because we're doing this live, but that might be something to play around with as well. All that vorticity is all happening in the Pyro simulation. So, cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Sorry, this went a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I was having fun playing around with it. I think we'll probably be calling it there. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everyone for joining and for your suggestions and comments. Yeah, if you, like I said, if you're interested in taking a look at this file, playing around with it, that is on the Discord server, and you can get a link to that and check it out. So I'll put that up right after the stream. And yeah, hopefully this all was fun. Learned a little bit about a few different things. You were able to join because it went longer. Nice. Well, lots of interesting little maybe tidbits in here and different ways of working with stuff. And yeah, it's kind of cool to see sometimes to see multiple things come together like this. Again, sorry, I don't always get to the rendering stage of things, but if you render it and play around with stuff, you know, feel free to sorry, my thing just said something and I distracted me. If you play around with this, make a render, something like that, feel free to send it over to the Discord server as well, and we can take a look at it there. So yeah, I think that's where we'll end the stream for this week. Thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, if you guys have any suggestions or anything like that, always put them in the Discord server. This was a suggestion by Pascal. And yeah, so thanks to him or her. I guess I don't really know everyone's gender, but thanks to them, I should say, I guess, for posting that. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to something cool again next week. So thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.